everybody, and welcome to I Can't Believe It's Not News, your favorite podcast about fake news. I'm Beth.
And I'm Kelly.
And I'm Elizabeth.
What? What are you doing here?
Hi!
You came back!
I broke in!
Oh my gosh, you guys, this is so exciting. We have Elizabeth back today for our 1-year anniversary episode.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, it's nice to finally meet you, Elizabeth.
I know, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So glad to be back.
And Elizabeth, we need to know if you've missed us at all.
Totally, 100%. I really miss going down the rabbit hole every other week. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yes, it is that like mental challenge every week that you have to put yourself through and find some things. Although I'm sure the first couple weeks were kind of nice. We were like, I'm not dreaming about fake news anymore.
Yeah, no, it's definitely having some withdrawals. I missed the show. It was a lot of fun. It feels so good to be back.
Nice. Well, you are welcome anytime. And
yeah,
we are always happy to have you here. So
thank you, love.
You're welcome. So being that this is basically like a year ago is when we released our first episode, I wanted to just kind of take a look back and just talk about what we've learned since then and some of these rabbit holes that we went down that we never thought we were going to go down. So if you ladies are ready to go on this journey with me, let's start by looking back at episode number 1. So Elizabeth, we did the fake news menace for episode number 1. And I think the most important thing in that episode was when we defined the difference between disinformation and misinformation.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. That little piece of information is just really critical to understanding the news and information situation out there with not like your normal mainstream news sources, but like Fox News versus the Palmer Report versus Drudge Report and what some of the nuances are. It's really important to understand.
Absolutely. And then we took a turn down. We did Saving Face, which was episode 2, and we talked about medical fake news, which Kelly and I delved into a little bit more with our science episode. But that was something I hadn't thought about as fake news really until we did that episode.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went down to should I Comey or should I go? So that was when Jim Comey got fired. And we said, oh, we got to pull some fake news about that. And that episode, we went down a couple rabbit holes. There was Pizzagate. There was
Trey Gowdy.
Yeah, Trey Gowdy. There was, this is when we first learned about liberal elite child molesters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, is this the first episode you talked about Pizzagate?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Jiminy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that is still a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like your guest just on the last episode was talking about the march that he attended and how people were still talking about this. And that's insane to me.
Isn't it? There are so many conspiracy theories that I think are just, common sense should get you further than, what is currently going on in your head, but not even common sense seems to get through sometimes.
Yeah. So then we moved on to our first guest. We talked to Manny Shevitz, and we talked to him about the problem of plagiarism. And that was also something that I hadn't thought about with fake news. And that was something I thought that was really important that he brought up, is that all these sites that plagiarize actual news, it's actually fake news because they're saying that they produced this content when they didn't. So that was very interesting.
Right.
Yeah. And then, and just like blatantly ripping off news sources. And he was kind of explaining a little bit about how it works in the regular journalism world. Like AP will produce a story and then MSNBC, pays them for that. Let's just say, for example. And so when you're just ripping it off, you're not contributing to that. And that was really interesting. And he was the first person. I mean, that was so cool. Like you said already, he was our first guest, but he was like, oh my gosh, we're legitimate. someone who isn't named Beth and Elizabeth is going to be on the show.
I actually did feel that way the first time it was me and we had a guest. I was like, we have a guest? We're going to talk to somebody else? This is going to be fantastic.
Yeah. And then I was like, yeah, I have the flu, so you're up.
That's right. You were so sick.
Wow. So anyway, after we talked to Manny, we moved on. And this is honestly one of my favorite episodes. We did the episode about Chobani versus Alex Jones. And I loved that episode. It was so interesting. And again, a rabbit hole that we went down. I just remember being like, I'm looking at comments on a Tasty video, and they're all about hating Muslims. And what is happening? You know, and it was just like crazy. But Alex Jones is just a dickwad. And so many other adjectives that I could add there. And, you know, he's starting to kind of get his with all these lawsuits that are going on about him. But I mean, I had heard his name before we did the podcast, but I didn't really understand how just evil and cancerous he was, you know, until we started looking more into him. Yeah. So,
well, now I don't remember if we talked about it, but you know, they did a focus on him on the John Oliver show on HBO. Have you guys talked about that or seen that?
Did we talk about it?
I don't remember if we talked about it, but I remember watching that. It was amazing. The supplements.
The supplements. Yeah. It's all about selling the supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So did you see, I posted a video that they just put up. Was it The Daily Show that did it? Or was it? So somebody sent out a correspondent to talk to Alex Jones on the street after his case. Like he was in court and they wouldn't let this guy in. Like they banned him from the courtroom. But Alex Jones came out and he basically was like, you're not the real Alex Jones. You're a crisis actor. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. I did see this. For some reason, I want to say it was Wyatt Cenac, but that's probably
right. It wasn't. But it was, I think it was The Daily Show that did it, but
it could have been. Yeah.
Oh, no. It was Opposition with Jordan Klepper. That's the show that did it. So
that makes sense.
But anyway, it was brilliant. And I posted the video on our page. It was just the perfect way to dig into him. And then the guy, accuses him of being a crisis actor. And then he's like, I realized, like, how rude that was of me in his moment of pain and suffering to accuse him of being a crisis actor. I need to go apologize. So he goes to his next event and he tries to apologize to him and they kick him out. And he's like yelling, I just want to apologize for accusing you of being a crisis actor. It's like,
yeah. I remember at the end of that video that he's driving away and still shouting out at him about buying his supplements.
He was giving him a supplement.
Like
it was amazing. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. But okay, and then next we had an amazing interview with Dr. Daniel Jolie about the psychology of conspiracy theories. And again, like with all of our guests, we're like, how did we get him to do this show? But he was so great. And I remember learning that basically when a big event happens, we have to counter it with another big event. And that's where like these conspiracy theories come into play, is because, you know, if a whole plane disappears, that can't just be what happened. It has to be that it's the military and the government made it happen.
Right.
It reminded me, you know, I know we all really like My Favorite Murder.
Yes.
We're all murderinos here. And it reminded me of how Georgia does not like finished cases. She likes cold cases because she said, you know, when it turns out to just be a guy, it's always so disappointing. Like you want it to be more than that. You want there to be more than just this one crazy random guy just lost it and decided to start killing people, women. And it's terrible. But yeah, it's like the can't face. And you see it with Sandy Hook. And I re-listened to that episode today and I loved it. I loved what he had to say. And I really liked the idea that he doesn't really know a lot about the conspiracy theories because what he researches is the psychology behind them and the people who believe them more than the actual theories, which I thought that's actually probably the more interesting part. than trying to fight them.
We were ready. We were like, let's talk conspiracy theories. So what's your deal? What's your jam? Is it JFK? Is it alien autopsy? What do you love?
Yeah.
I know, I like science. He's like, no, wait. It was like, no, I like science.
Yeah.
And I think actually it was one of my favorite things that we reviewed after the interview. We reviewed that article about Princess Diana and it had that really weird voice and I freaked you out with it. So that was a fun moment. So the next episode we did was CNN Lies and Videotape, which was when Sarah Huckabee Sanders told the world to watch a video that may or may not be accurate. And it was from Project Veritas and James O'Keefe. And we dwelled deep into that world.
Yeah, I remember when we were just starting kind of the research for that. And I thought, oh, Project Veritas. Oh, disgusting. And Beth naively, innocently, what's that? What's Project Veritas? Oh, you will learn.
And I did.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're gross and icky.
Yes, they are.
Well said.
Yeah. And then one of our other favorite guests, we had Nick Bird on, who we refer to very friendly as the first friend of the pod. And that was such a fun episode. We talked about how fake news can be in academia, and we talked about open access journals, and we talked about the penis as a social construct.
That was an awesome episode. Shout out to Nick, our bestie out there in Florida. We love him. Gave us so much positivity in the beginning. Like he was the very first person who we reached out to and was like, yeah, I'd love to be on your show and everything. And it just didn't work out for him to be the first guest, but he was there in the beginning and we loved Nick.
Actually, I think we wanted to wait because we didn't want to struggle through the process. We wanted to kind of practice.
Oh, so we practiced on Dr. Jolie.
And Manny. Yeah. And Manny. No, it was just like we were like so nervous to like be like, okay, Nick, come on and talk to us before we were like confident that we knew what the fuck we were doing.
You might want to edit that.
I will consider it. It may not happen. And then out of that episode actually came our first jam without knowing it when Elizabeth brought up one of her old time favorite songs. What was it called?
Detachable Penis. I swear I left. I couldn't believe that you didn't know about that. I went and I talked to my husband and I said, like, you know, like Detachable Penis by King Missile. He's like, yes, of course. What are you talking about? Why wouldn't I know that?
It just wasn't up on the penis song. I don't know.
Kelly, so you know?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I'll just leave you two alone.
Yeah, no. High five from afar. Yeah, well, I mean, I think it depends on when I don't know. It was like a staple of my naughty little teenage years where you're like, this song says penis.
The 90s?
Awesome. Yes.
The 90s, yes.
Yeah, that was fun. And that was our first unofficial jam of the episode. We didn't even know we were doing that yet. And Elizabeth kind of got one in. So
that's
Ba-da-bum.
She got one in with that detachable penis. You know how it works.
Okay, the next episode we did was the Hulk Hogan Ruins Everything. And we watched the documentary Nobody Speak, Trials of the Free Press about the Hulk Hogan case versus Gawker. And wow, did that blow me away. Not what I expected at all.
Hulk Hogan continues to ruin everything. I was watching a really good documentary, I think it was on HBO, about Andre the Giant that recently came out.
Yeah.
And they spend a lot of time talking to Hulk Hogan because they were good friends. And he obviously has a lot to add to the story, but I just kept on looking at him like, oh. Like, I get that you're like a pawn and it's not really about you, but you still piss me off.
Yeah, and that episode is the one that brought to my attention Peter Thiel, who owns PayPal and Venmo. And I have tried to switch to the Cash App, but my bank won't work on it. And it pisses me off every time I have to use Venmo.
Tell your bank that we use the Cash App now.
Because
everyone is switching to the Cash App.
We don't use the other apps anymore.
We don't use
I don't want to support a megalomaniac billionaire every time I need to pay somebody some money, but my bank's like, I don't know who this other app is. So yeah, I gotta talk to them. All right, the next episode we had another guest. We had Maggie Farley on, and she invented the fake news game Factitious, and she was amazing, from American University. And she had all these great quotes, and she would say, like, if your mother says she loves you, check it out.
And Maggie was awesome.
Yeah, she was. And then we had Christian Picciolini on, was our next episode. And that, I gotta say, I mean, all of our guest episodes are always amazing, but Christian it really was amazing to talk to him. And
that was probably my favorite.
I think it was my favorite too. It would be the one where if I was going to use this podcast for like a job interview, like that's the episode I would send. Like, this is the one that you should listen to. But so he is the author of Romantic Violence, Memoirs of an American Skinhead. And we really talked to him about propaganda and how like the skinheads and the neo-Nazis used propaganda to recruit. So it was just very, very interesting. And I never, ever thought when we started this podcast, Elizabeth, that we would be talking to a former skinhead about propaganda.
Mm-hmm. It was right after Charlottesville, too.
Yeah. And it was like, wow, like, didn't know I was going to go there with this. But amazing, like, turn of events took us there. So, and then after that was right when Hurricane Harvey happened. So we talked about all of the fake news from the hurricanes. This is the one where the guy had the geoengineering and was saying that microwave waves controlled the hurricane, the government controlled it. They knew where it was going to land, blah, blah, blah.
And they got their burritos made too.
There was a lot of bean burrito jokes in that episode. And then the next one we did, we delved into Russia when we said, when sock puppets go bad. And we talked about the Internet Research Agency, white papers, sock puppets, and trolls.
Oh my!
Do you remember what this? Okay, here's something for you. Do you even remember what the sock puppet meant? Do we have any memory of that?
Yeah, kind of. Don't ask me to do that.
I'm going to look really quick.
I remember that it's a thing, but I forget. It has something to do with pretending to be something else online.
Oh, here we go. An online identity used for purposes of deception. The term,
well, there you go.
A reference to the manipulation of a simple hand puppet made from a sock, originally referred to as a false identity, assumed by a member of an internet community who spoke to or about themselves while pretending to be another person.
So we've learned all sorts of interesting things like sock puppets, and we've learned about cutouts in the intelligence community. And it's just been a really educational experience.
Yep. And we need to go back and re-listen to some of these because we've forgotten now what they mean. The next one we talked about was fake news about real tragedy. We talked about the Las Vegas shooting and the fake news and conspiracy theories and everything that comes from tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it happened so quickly too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we dove into the liberal dilemma, Google and fake tans. And we took a more nuanced look at fake news that liberals are likely to overlook. So we talked about confirmation bias, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got into a little bit of cooking, hacking risotto. It just takes time. That one was
John Podesta and his risotto recipe.
Pretty much, which Will told us that's where the Pizzagate actually came from, was John Podesta's emails talking about Comet Ping Pong Pizza. Mm-hmm. And that's where they did that. And it just like was crazy. We also did a segment in that episode called Roundabeth, which then you left soon after. So it only lasted one episode, but I thought that was a really great name.
Is this your way of trying to tell me I should change my name?
No. No, I think having a Kelly is just fine.
Having a Kelly Beth would be better.
Yeah. Be Kelly Beth. That would be awesome.
I apologize. I was born in Florida and not in Georgia.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might have had a chance.
So, and then it was Elizabeth's last episode. And for that one, we talked about sexual assault.
As you do.
So there was some stuff going on at that time with a lot of fake news going around about sexual assault. And we were like not having it. So we talked about it and sent Elizabeth off. And then Kelly came on board and we reviewed another documentary called Data and Trumping Democracy. And Kelly.
Which was, that was the first time I had ever heard of Cambridge Analytica.
Yes.
Dun, dun, dun.
And now we're like, wait, Cambridge Analytica is Pizzagate? Like, it's all coming together.
Now it's something you talk about over breakfast.
Right. It was something that, after we did the podcast, I was trying to explain to people what Cambridge Analytica was. And I was like, you don't understand. You don't need to give them permission to have your data. They already have it.
Right.
You don't need to do anything. And people are like, yeah, that's what everybody says. And now it's out in the news. And I'm like, fucking told you so.
Right.
It's one of the few moments that I can truly be like, I fucking told you so.
Real quick, you guys, did either of you get the message from Facebook saying that your data was part of that?
I believe I did, and I believe I ignored it.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get it. And so I was just curious.
Yeah, I didn't get it.
What am I going to do?
But I've never, I've always been, my husband works in design, and I've seen throughout the years where he's talked about how they capture your data, even like a company like AOL. Like that's where they make a lot of their money, is having they have so much personal information stacked on top of one another. That's one of the reasons they merged with Verizon. And they wanted to get in on that. So I've been aware of that sphere, and that's why I probably didn't end up, but God knows I'm sure they have enough if they ever needed to.
Well, the thing was with that was that it wasn't even, if you're super careful, it was your friends.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So thanks, friends.
Yeah. There's only so much you can do.
Right. So the next episode, we dived into King of the Whopper. We talked about lies. And guess who's the biggest liar around?
Oh, is it Hillary Clinton?
Oh, wait. Keep thinking.
I don't know. My uncle is a pretty legitimate source, and he definitely says it's Hillary Clinton.
Well, according to...
No, don't be silly. It's Bill.
Right.
Well, according to the article, The Whoppers of 2017, President Trump monopolizes our list of the year's worst falsehoods and bogus claims by factcheck.org. It's actually President Trump.
Fake news.
Yeah. Right. And this was actually right after Megyn Kelly interviewed Alec Jones. So we talked a little bit about that as well. Kelly, this was the first episode that we did a song of the episode. We kind of started out with that.
Yeah.
It evolved into the jam of the episode. So, and the next one we did, you took a bullet and listened to Fire and Fury, the audiobook. And
it wasn't that big of a bullet. I really enjoyed it. I mean, it is pure trash. It is a pure trashy novel full of, I want all of this to be true, but it's like maybe 45% max, but still there's little nuggets. It's one of those things where it's, there are so many little nuggets of truth that are just expanded upon that you're like, yeah.
Well, that episode is really interesting because I really found out that books are not fact-checked, and there's a lot of issues with books not being correct, and people really tend to trust books just on their face value because it's a book and it has a cover and it seems like this is very, this has got to be the information that is correct, and it's actually not. And I had never thought of it that way. And I saw this video earlier, and it was like, you guys know who Nick Offerman is? He played Ron Swanson. Okay. Mm-hmm. Love Nick Offerman. Super, super funny. Mm-hmm. So he has this video with Vicepedia where he fact checks facts about Nick Offerman from the internet. And he starts a segment. He's holding a book and he's like, books are full of facts. The internet is not. And I was like, actually, that's actually not true.
Yeah, not so
Right?
much.
So it reminded me of that episode. So, and then the next one we did, this was also a favorite of mine. We did the clickbait hat trick episode where we talked about, oh Lord, let me pull this up here into this so I can accurately describe it.
This was your
Yes.
infamous face cream episode, wasn't it?
So,
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Oh.
yeah, this is where Beth went real red string theory on us.
okay, so this is a conspiracy theory about a face cream involving Sean Hannity, Joel Osteen, and the murder of Seth Rich. And it was insane. Just this article, I had to read it so many times. I had all these notes. I had done all this research. Kelly was like, are you okay? I'm
Yeah.
just like,
I was
what?
like,
What do you mean? What do you mean?
do I need to send the authorities?
I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. This isn't crazy. That was
Yes.
insane. Yes. So I made it out though. And the next episode was your first interview with Vanessa Otero from Media Bias Chart. And we talked about media bias. So, and then if you listen to that episode, you got to hear me sound like death. And that was like a week later. It was really bad.
Yeah, it was really bad. Yeah.
So, but the media bias part was very interesting and we love her chart. And Elizabeth, I think you liked it as well. You told me later.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really handy. It's really nice to throw up that graphic sometimes when people are really going to town with their crazy sources. Like they're like Daily Mail from the UK. And
No.
I'm like, no. Here's a chart. Check it.
I love that chart. I've loved that chart for forever. And when I found out you were going to interview her, I was so jealous. And it was super, super cool.
And it's,
You totally probably should have
Well,
been there
I
on the call
totally
with me.
I was like,
there was a really good reason why I wasn't.
I asked her
Yeah.
because I like right before I was like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Do you maybe want to jump on an interview? Cause I can't. And she wasn't going to be home. And
I was like, yeah, actually, I'm texting with my friend right now and confirming our plans for dinner for this evening. So no.
yeah.
Right.
But it would have been great if it had worked out. Cause yeah, it was a fun, I think you would have had fun talking with her too. So
Yeah. I would have.
So the next episode, we dived into something that has long bothered me and Kelly, and we couldn't keep it to an hour. So we talked about the myths around guns, and we had to break it into 2 episodes, basically 2 parts, because we went so long. And I'll just leave it right there.
Yeah. It probably would have been shorter if you had cut out every curse word that I used. You probably could have gotten it down to like 25 minutes. I was so mad.
Yeah.
I was so mad. I'm just so over seeing kids get killed. I'm just done with it.
I don't think
So,
that's a good quality about you, Kelly. I think you need to
Oh, no. I'll work on it.
Well, yeah, life is going to get easier if you just get better with that.
Yeah, if you can just come to terms with kids getting killed by guns at school, it's going to be easier. I will say, though, that it was very cathartic to talk about it in that episode. I think I said I felt like I'd had a fishbowl over my head and I was screaming. And that is really how I felt. And I think doing the episode really made me feel like I had lifted that fishbowl off my head.
I couldn't even finish it. It just, and not you
Right.
guys, but just the whole situation and hearing y'all talk about it and kind of saying the things that are in my brain just got me so upset. But look what's come from it though,
Yes.
from that
Yes.
incident.
Amazing.
Yeah, those Parkland kids are so amazing.
One thing I'm really excited
Yeah.
about is they passed in the new budget, there's going to be money for gun research. Gun violence
Yes,
research.
I saw that.
Yes.
Woohoo!
That is an
Yes.
amazing feat. And I can't remember her name. She's a congresswoman. I think she's actually from Miami area, but she's the one who really, really pushed. She was on one of the pods save. It was either
Yeah, I was going to say, was she on the Pod Save America? I think that.
Or Love It or Leave It.
They talked to her when they were in Miami.
Oh, right.
I think, or down in Florida.
They were.
Or maybe Orlando.
But I feel like she was on Love It or Leave It just because of the format that I was listening to her in. But anyway, either way, that's where I heard about that. So, and then because we talked about guns for so long, we thought we should talk about something funny. So we did an episode about satire, which prompted me to start a satire blog on our site, which has been probably one of the funnest things in my life, like ever, is to write some satire. So I haven't done.
We will not tell your kids you just said that.
I said
don't
funnest things.
Oh. I thought you said.
I didn't say thing I love the most.
That's fair.
Right? You
That's fair.
remember childbirth? Like, that's not the funnest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, don't try to.
Anyway, it's been really fun. And, but we talked a lot about satire. And, you know, one of the things that really just kind of irked me is when people say, like, they have a fake news article and they're like, oh, it's just satire. It's just satire. And it's like, no, you don't get to take my satire, my like fun, and make it your excuse. I don't like that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. And then the next one we did was our Blinded by Science, which we kind of talked about a little bit earlier as well. Kelly, you kind of took that one on. So maybe you want to talk about just a little bit about what we did there, if you remember.
I do. Well, I remember that I based most of it off of Ben Goldacre, who I just adore. And really, I had gone from a research background to reading his book. And the thing that struck me the most was just how we see this fake scientific news. I mean, even just yesterday, I saw something about like women should eat chocolate every day. And I was like,
oh, yes.
There's no way that is true. But I will believe that shit as long as I need to, because I'm sure there are 10 other research projects out there that will say, no, don't do that, ladies.
Don't do
fake
that.
news. Fake news.
Yeah, I know. That is the fake news, in my opinion. But I mean, yeah, it brings it back to and we'll get into this a little bit later, but we live in such an era of confirmation bias. We always, that's just something that's built into us. So having the fake scientific news, there's something on every side. You can fit it into anything.
Yeah. Anything.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's one of the things that I have learned doing this podcast is that you can take any subject and find something to talk about it with in regards to fake news.
Yeah.
Because there's something there for everything. And it's sometimes overwhelming that that's the truth.
Yeah.
But I also feel like maybe a little job security in that.
Yeah, in a way, for sure.
I feel like I'm never going to run out of topics here. So, and then the last episode we did was Follow the Breadcrumbs with Will Sumner. And that was a very unexpected episode, I will say. I didn't think that we would find somebody who does a newsletter about right-wing media that would be so good and helpful for people on the left to read, to understand conspiracy theories.
Right.
Like that was insane that's how it works. That's how the breadcrumbs connect.
It's really nice of him to do that sort of research background because it definitely, no one has time to keep doing it.
Right.
There's too many and it goes too fast and just the fake news stories pile up and you have no way to know like I told him, I thought I had my finger on a lot of fake news. We do this every 2 weeks. We're sitting in these chairs and we're recording and we're looking at the fake news that's out there. And I did not know at all what QAnon was.
No, I'd never heard of it.
Did you
never
know?
heard?
I guess
Elizabeth,
I did.
You did? Yeah. And I'm glad you did. I'm glad that
I got my fingers on the pulse. Yeah.
Yeah.
So our scientific study here says that 2/3 of liberals are unaware of QAnon.
That's the most scientific study.
Yeah. Very scientific study.
Well, no, now 100% of liberals are aware of QAnon.
Exactly.
Thanks to us.
If they listen to, I can't believe it's not news.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, very interesting. And I love getting his newsletter now. So that was really great to talk to him too. He was really great. So
Oh, he was so great to listen to. That was fantastic, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. So that's where we're at. So that's been a year of a fake news podcast in review. And Kelly, I'm going to let you bring up the next segment since it was your idea.
All right. So I had a thought that for our 1-year anniversary, Elizabeth, I love that you're joining us for this because we're sort of doing a nod to one of our other favorite podcasts, My Favorite Murder. And today we're going to do my favorite conspiracy theory.
Now, I do want to say that My Favorite Murder was help in starting this podcast because I think Elizabeth and I were inspired by them as two women that are just random women talking about something. And it was like, hey, they can do it. We can do it.
Right.
You know? Right. So it's kind of apropos that we're basing this next segment on doing my favorite conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So who wants to go
So
first?
who wants to go first?
Throw me a Coke. Well, we could let our guest go first. I mean, if we want to call her that.
Sure.
What did you say, Elizabeth, when you said you felt like my ex? You were like, when after you first left, you were like, I feel like the ex in this relationship.
just a little bit. It's okay, Kelly.
I hold no bitterness to this ex.
Right.
I like her. We have an amiable relationship.
Yes, very amicable.
Christmas, Thanksgiving, not awkward. Everything is fine.
No.
Anniversaries, we spend them together.
Clearly, obviously, here we are.
That's my point.
So,
but yeah, Elizabeth, you wanna take it and give us your favorite conspiracy theory?
Sure. Yeah, I'm excited.
So my favorite conspiracy theory is Barack Obama, secret Muslim.
Ooh.
And whenever I think about people's weird fixation with him potentially being a Muslim, I think Barack Obama, secret Muslim in my head. And then I have this vision of him like Hannah Montana, secret celebrity with like kind of like the crimped hair and the little fun outfit. And it just blows my mind that image isn't out there on the internet. I do not have the design skills to make this happen. And I can't believe that that's only in my brain and someone else hasn't created that already. It just seems so obvious to me. So anyway, so I kind of went digging, trying to figure out what the basis of this is and what the latest and greatest is on the why of it. And I found a good PolitiFact article from back in 2010 when this was all kind of at the peak. And the article is titled, why do so many people think Obama is a Muslim? And it talks about how he's declared himself a Christian. He goes to Christian churches. He's talked about it at length, but people keep on saying that they believe that he's a Muslim. And they quote some figures. Right. Says the Pew Research Center last week, of course, this was back in 2010, reported that 18% of Americans believe that Obama is a Muslim, up from 11% in March of 2009. And then they quote a Time magazine poll that found that 24% said he was a Muslim. And that kind of like, how many people support Trump right now?
It's just a little over 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was like in the 30 range. Yeah. So I started thinking, okay, so there's like 24% of people. This is definitely our Venn diagram over.
Right.
That,
oh, for sure.
That they're just gone. There's nothing we're going to say, nothing that's going to be done that's ever going to change. And these people just need to you just have to deal with this fact, right? That the crazy is out there and it is existing in between like 24% and like 35% of the population is just batshit crazy. Yeah.
Right.
And they go on to talk about how, well, they talked to a political scientist named Brendan Nyhan from the University of Michigan. And he was saying that when people are fiercely partisan, they're less likely to change their minds when they're presented with factually correct evidence that contradicts their views. And then he kind of says that might actually be like a stand-in for, I don't know who he really is. And so they have this negative association with Islam. And so I'm just going to put this on top of him and paint him with that brush. And it's just bad.
Well, and the conspiracy is that he's a secret Muslim.
Yeah.
So even if he's declaring himself Christian, that just feeds into it because the Muslim part is secret anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really crazy because I don't think that that's allowable in the Muslim religion. It is not the kind of religion that allows you to pretend to be a different religion. And I would, just for giggles, just to appear more. And it always kills me because the same people that will believe that he's Muslim are the same people who will absolutely talk shit about Reverend Jeremiah Wright and be like, he is the worst Christian pastor. And you're like, but how do I wrap my head around you don't like his Christian pastor, but you also think he's a Muslim?
Remember what Dr. Jolie says. You can believe in two conflicting conspiracy theories.
Those are some nice facts you got there, Kelly. That's not going to do you any good here. Okay. So
doesn't work.
In the article, they say that Nyhan studied the phenomena and conducted several research experiments looking at how people respond to facts and political arguments. And one of his experiments asked the participants their political views, and they assessed that. And then they asked them what they thought Obama's religion was. Then they showed a video of Obama discussing his Christianity, and they asked that question again. What do y'all think happened?
They all went out for root beer floats.
Well, before that, that's obvious. Clearly, that's what happens.
Did they all change their minds?
You know what?
Say, oh my gosh, Funny we were so wrong.
No, that's not what happened at all. It actually had the effect of making people even more likely to believe that he was a Muslim.
It's crazy.
And so it's effective. It's an effect of this hyper partisanship. So when you are presented with these facts, you actually dig in further. Right. And that's when we talked about that with Dr. Jolie. I believe we talked about that with Nick. I think we might have talked about that with everyone who was on this show.
It's been a theme.
Means that just keeps on cropping up over and over again. And it's just, I walked away just thinking, if you're going to believe it, you're going to believe it. And it's really disheartening. But then I think, I have a friend who used to be conservative and he's now solid liberal. And I asked him what happened and why. And he said, I just got tired of being wrong all the time.
Yeah.
And so I guess it can happen. I guess there is hope. And so even despite the fact that people believe this crazy thing that goes against all the evidence what's out there, goes against common sense and all of that, we still got to keep trying. Still got to try to keep chipping away at that wall.
We're going to keep doing the podcast.
Right.
Good.
Nice. All right, Kelly, you want to go next with your favorite conspiracy theory?
Sure. So my favorite conspiracy theory, I have so many, you guys. I love conspiracy theories. That's why you've heard us do so many, is because I get really into them. I don't really like to talk as much about the really crazy, hurtful ones, but there are some great celebrity conspiracy theories, and there's just really great, old conspiracy theories. I totally love the Hollow Earth conspiracy theory and how even government funds went into that. But today, I decided...
I need to ask you, though. Is the Hollow Earth conspiracy theory, is it filled with chocolate?
No, but it is filled with little men.
Oh, man. I thought that was going to go with the eating chocolate every day.
Are they little bunny rabbits, but men made of chocolate?
Ooh,
maybe.
I think that's I think that's worthwhile.
It's worth doing research to find out.
Right?
Yes. We should spend taxpayer money on that. Absolutely.
For sure.
I can think of worse things that are currently being done with it. So the one that I decided to do was I thought I'd give a little shout out to my hometown. I thought about doing the faked moon landing, but I felt like that was just too silly.
Oh.
So I decided to do the Flat Earth Society.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wait, do you think their favorite food is pancakes?
I don't know, Beth.
Okay, just wondering.
Maybe they only eat flat circular foods.
That would be awesome. I could just see them like at IHOP with their pancakes and their bacon, and they're showing people. They're like, "Look, this is how it works." Like you would fall off.
Exactly how this. Yeah. Yeah. So to give you a little bit of background, the modern Earth Society or modern flat Earth societies, they are made up of people who believe that the Earth is flat rather than a sphere. That's seemingly obvious.
Right.
So some of these groups go way far back. Like there are thousands of years where people believed that the Earth was flat. However, we've known for thousands of years that the Earth is round. You can go as far back as, in the time of Dante, when he wrote the Divine Comedy, he is talking about going through layers and talks about the Earth being a sphere. So it's not as though, we used to hear in high school, Christopher Columbus set sail and people thought, they're going to go off the end of the world.
Right.
And that was definitely not the case in the time of Christopher Columbus.
Wait, there were lies about Christopher Columbus?
Can you believe that? He is totally a great guy. Let's celebrate his birthday every year. Woohoo!
We're going to have to plan an episode around Columbus Day coming up this year.
Let's do that. Okay, so a lot of this belief in flat Earth is because of biblical literalism. So they believe that there's something, Bible verse that they'll keep saying, the Bible never says the Earth is curved.
Oh, right.
It only talks about the ground and the water was split by the ground. And then there's a firmament. But
isn't there that thing where like the Bible and science don't always agree?
Yeah.
But it's a book.
Yeah.
It wasn't fact checked.
It wasn't fact checked. It's thick. And there's so many words.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes. So, I mean, even the Catholic Church has come out and said, they've apologized for. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Like for not supporting science and burning.
No, I mean, like they've come out and they apologized for killing Galileo after Galileo said that the Earth wasn't the center of the solar system. So, I mean, definitely, I don't believe the Catholic Church is full of flat earthers.
Right.
These are just your extremes. These are your part of your. I believe that these would fit nicely onto the Venn diagram, Elizabeth.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just laughing too because I was thinking the litany of things. Oh, excuse the pun. The litany of things that should be coming out of your mouth after the Catholic Church has apologized for.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a long list we'd have to get into on a whole different 2-hour episode, but yeah.
Galileo will do today.
Yes.
That's fine.
All right. So one of the things I wanted to mention here is that some of the people who believe in the flat Earth believe that all of space is fake.
Oh.
That's all fake shit out there.
Really?
Yeah. So they don't, any of that is
what
out
was
there.
that movie with Jim Carrey? The
Truman Show?
Where yes. They think it's like the Earth is like the Truman Show and it's just they've like put stuff up there.
So
like
I'm assuming that
yes. That is what they believe.
I'm assuming they get these ideas from the internet, right? And
I don't know these are their scientifically found conclusions.
They do their research and they do their talking on the internet with the satellites that triangulate around the spherical planet.
Yes.
And otherwise it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
You know what though?
And Elizabeth, they travel around the country
in airplanes
and go to conferences in airplanes.
But did you guys? I just read about this guy who spent all this money to try to prove
the Rocket Man
theory. Yeah, the Rocket Man.
Yeah.
Did we talk about that in an episode, or did we just talk about that?
I don't know if we've ever talked about it. I've seen him a couple of times because I love the Flat Earth Society. I think they're great. I think that they have some interesting ideas. Like, there's no such thing as space.
Well, yeah, what I'm remembering about that article is they don't trust anything that's out there. They have to prove it themselves. So, Elizabeth, even though they don't maybe use the internet for research because they can't trust anybody else's research but their own. So if they're a true flat earther, they are on their own. Yeah.
So they only listen to other flat earthers in the flat earth blogosphere.
Right. They block people real quick. Real quick on the Facebook pages. But they, what I will say about them is there's a way more of them than you think there are. Like, they get millions of hits on their YouTube channels. Now, I'm going to say there's probably a percentage of those that are people laughing. That are me. That are total point and laugh.
Right.
Point and laugh. This is the dregs of we don't understand science at all.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, so one of the things that they say is that this is all just done by NASA to make money.
Right.
Because NASA's profit mission.
Right. And NASA's been around for thousands of years. Right.
Right. Absolutely.
Yep.
And all I could really think of is, I grew up right next to the Space Center. I've had family who works at the Space Center. I have met astronauts when I was a very young child. My mom used to inspect the space shuttle. My parents have been firefighters out at the Space Center. My dad used to drive a bus out at the Space Center. My grandfather helped start the Space Center. And I'm just like, is my family all complicit in this one big lie?
Yes.
Totes.
Totally.
Yeah. I have been woken up by a gigantic gas rocket going into space at 4:00 in the morning and lighting up the sky. Was that fake?
Yep.
Did they fake that?
All fake.
I've watched it literally leave. Didn't break any glass domes. No glass domes were broken.
That's so funny, though. So you're from Cape Canaveral? So I grew up right by the Johnson Space Center.
Oh, is that in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up in Titusville, right. Cape Canaveral is literally where NASA is, but Titusville is the city that it's inside of.
Yeah. So the Johnson Space Center, people always say, Houston, we have a problem, but the Johnson Space Center is in Webster, Texas. And I grew up in the town that's just right south of that. And so all of the engineers and the astronauts' children who I went to school with, and all of these people, all, their parents, all part of the conspiracy, obviously. Yeah.
I grew up in Utah.
I mean, yeah.
There is a lot of Mormon.
Well, but it does make you think, like, what about the other countries that have put astronauts into space? Russia and China have both put astronauts into space with their own technologies. Yeah. I want to know how it all fits together. I want there to be a global cabal of lizard people from every country who've decided that faking space and making people believe that the Earth is round is the best way to use all of our technology and funding.
The lizard people. Okay, this is a little diversion, but I just found out that it's a metaphor for being Jewish.
Really?
I read that. Yeah, and I was so disappointed because I thought it was literally, you thought that they were lizards.
There's a lot of that in the Flat Earth Society as well, where it's the Zionists who promote this theory.
That's so boring and so lame. Like, really? Anti-Semitism? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Except for Justin Bieber, because he might actually be a lizard.
Well, the Prime Minister, Prime Minister of New Zealand.
All right. Yeah. All right. I got to cut this off. We got to move on.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to round it out with my favorite conspiracy theory. I went ahead and went with Donald Trump's assertion that 3 million undocumented immigrants voted in the 2016 election. Why? Why not?
Because that's exactly how many votes he lost by.
We got to get DJT in there. Come on.
Oh, God.
For our conspiracy theories.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and this came from Alex Jones. So, report 3 million votes in presidential election were classed by illegal aliens, reads in headline on InfoWars, a conspiracy website ran by Alex Jones. Article been shared via Facebook more than 48,000 times last time we looked. And this is an article by Pundit Fact. And basically, they found that there's no evidence for it whatsoever, like none. Okay, so here's how they arrived at this claim. So this is the thought process. There's a 2014 report that claims that 6.4% of non-citizens voted in 2008 and 2.2% of non-citizens voted in the 2010 midterm congressional elections. And this was based on data from a Harvard study of people, but it was very flawed. So here's what they found out. Is that basically the authors of the survey say a small percentage of respondents who are citizens accidentally misidentified themselves as non-citizens on the survey. This is because the respondents didn't read the question carefully and accidentally selected the wrong response to the question. And when they took out the people who had changed their answer, they found that no non-citizens voted. So it basically went down to zero. Basically, it was just people who didn't read the question and mark that they were a non-citizen when they actually were.
Yeah.
So there is like a very, very small percentage. So in Florida, Governor Rick Scott's administration tried to do this huge crackdown on non-citizens voting by comparing.
That's not the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Florida's renowned for this.
So they compared the driver's license data against voter rolls. And through this process, they found a list of 182,000 potential non-citizens that had voted, right? That number was whittled down to 2,700 and then to about 200 before the purge stopped. So, and it was so flawed. Like they found one of them was a Brooklyn-born World War II vet. You know, like, yeah. And it said that ultimately only 85 people were removed from the voting rolls from this. So they have begun another purge in 2014 and then abandoned that as well. And Richard Hansen, who's an election law expert at the University of California, Irvine, called Phillips' claim fake news. And he said, there's no credible evidence I have seen to show large numbers of non-citizens voting in the U.S. elections anywhere, Hansen said. The idea that 3 million non-citizens could have illegally voted in our elections without being detected is obscenely ludicrous. So I have another article here, and this is by MSNBC. And this says, Trump can't let go of made-up voter fraud conspiracy theory. Now, when was this? 2016? I just want to remind you, like, the time difference here.
Yes.
This article is from February of 2018.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So we're talking about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It says, a year ago this week, Donald Trump hosted a meeting in the White House with 10 senators to discuss Neil Gorsuch's Supreme Court nomination. The president, for reasons that weren't altogether clear, took the opportunity to tell lawmakers at the meeting that he would have won New Hampshire had it not been for widespread voter fraud. And that
shit. Who gives a shit?
People were brought in on buses. So he's kept this like conspiracy going that there was this voter fraud, right?
Right.
So again, just like last week from when this article was written, so about 2 months ago now, at an RNC dinner, he returned to the subject once again and argued that he would have won New Hampshire in 2016 had it not been for voter fraud, saying that liberal voters were bussed in from Connecticut and Massachusetts. So it's just like complete nonsense. And this whole thing comes down to, this is what they say in the article. Whatever the root cause, Trump is lying in a way that suggests he's uncertain about the legitimacy of his own election. And that's why I wanted to talk about this conspiracy theory, because it's literally based on one fucking guy who can't get over the fact that he lost the popular vote. And he is basically in a position where he has created his own conspiracy theory about himself. And how weird is that?
This is what is confusing to me. So on one hand, I wonder about Russian tampering in our election. Like we know about the Facebook hack, but what don't we know about? Right? It's really interesting that there are these very specific places that deviated so much from what the polls said. And you would think he would be in collusion with that. But from his behavior, it kind of seems like he really wonders about this that you're talking about. Like not that he wonders, but that he has this insecurity about the legitimacy of his election. And like, if he knew, like, legitimately that his election was not legitimate, maybe he wouldn't be going down this path. I don't know. It just takes my mind and it twists it all up and just wrings it out and throws it away. I don't even know what to do anymore. I don't know what to think about anything. It's like reverse psychology, double negative times
and it's
two.
Also a
I don't
conspiracy
know.
theory to make people hate immigrants and illegals and to focus on that too. So it's like a double conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But I wonder like what he really believes, what he really like. It seems like he actually believes this.
Yeah, I think he does believe it because it feeds into his necessity of being a victim in that situation, that he was the underdog in some way. And that, people did him wrong, but look, he still prevailed and still accomplished what he wanted to accomplish, which was to be president, which I'm not really sure he wanted to accomplish, but he's there. So, and he's never going to turn down a win. But for sure, it feeds into that. And that's something the alt-right has loved, is being anytime they can be a victim. So that they get, sympathy, and they get people being like, why would you do that to them? The amount of people who were like, don't punch Richard Spencer. I'm like, fuck no, punch him a couple more times. He has learned nothing.
Now, according to Christian Picciolini, you're supposed to hug a white supremacist and not punch them. I just want to throw that out there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Got to go back and listen to that Christian episode and get our love on. Okay. That's what changes the world. All right.
He did also say, too, about California. In many places like California, the same person votes many times. You probably heard about that. They're always like to say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Not a conspiracy theory, folks. Millions and millions of people. No, that didn't happen.
Just in California.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
No. And what it is it comes down to, so I actually heard a podcast about this, and I was reading this and I was like, oh, that's right. I remember they were talking about this. So what it comes down to is called the birthday paradox, because you'll have people with the same first name, same last name, and same date of birth that vote in two different states, but they're actually two different people.
Right.
Or
even
they get
two different cities.
Yeah, they get counted as a possible double vote because they have the same name and the same birthday. But it happens. So it's way more likely.
Yeah, especially in certain cultures where you have a name that is there are a lot of cultures where there are names that are very, very common that are used over and over. And you have a city like Los Angeles, which is a melting pot of those kind of people, that where you probably have, you could have maybe 4 or 5 people with the same name. And I don't know about birthdays, but it's very likely.
Yeah, no, it definitely happens. So anyway, that was my favorite conspiracy theory.
I love it.
So Elizabeth, we have a tagline called Spread Jam, Not Lies. Have you heard it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Does it sound familiar?
So we like to do a little segment where we spread some jam. And I wanted to give you an opportunity to give us your jam of the week.
Cool. I have long thought, what would my jam be?
Ooh,
and
excited.
I think right now my jam is Legion on FX.
Oh, yeah?
Have you guys seen that?
No, but I've been hearing some good things about it.
I just go and just soak in it. I love it, love it, love it. It's an hour-long dramatic series, and it's a comic book based X-Men thing, but it's nothing at all like your standard superhero fare. It is, I read an article today that says the creator is inspired by Stanley Kubrick and Wes Anderson.
Okay.
And it's
nice. Okay.
like an art house, mid-century modern fever dream.
Nice.
It's beautiful. It's amazingly acted. Are you guys fans of Downton Abbey?
Yeah.
Okay. So Matthew.
Okay. Oh, he's in that?
He's the lead.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. You got me.
Yeah, it's so great. And I just figured out, well, so I have a young son and he's, getting a little bit older. He's going to be 2 in a couple of weeks. And so we're getting into Elmo and Sesame Street. And I just found out that in between seasons of Legion season 1 and season 2, I figured out that one of the characters is Mr. Noodle, Elmo's friend.
Oh, I know Mr. Noodle.
Oh, man.
I may not know Downton Abbey, but I know Mr. Noodle,
so
damn
I'm
it.
watching this new season, looking at this character with these new eyes, and my heart just like opens up to this character so much more. I'm like, you're Mr. Noodle.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would probably see him and be like, Mr. Noodle, what are you doing, Mr. Noodle?
All right. Well,
So that's my jam.
that's awesome.
Everyone needs to go and watch Legion.
Nice. Nice. Well, Kelly, you want to go next? We go in the same order that we did our conspiracy theories.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of stick to what I thought was my favorite conspiracy theory. So for my jam of the week, I chose, mine is actually a music video, not just a song, because I have these great memories of when my son was little. I would put him to sleep and I would play this video and he loved it. And I had a whole space playlist and it was great, but it's the Space Oddity video that's sung in the space station by Chris Hadfield. And it's amazing. You can see the curvature of the Earth behind it. I know it's just special effects, guys. But yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's amazing. I think it's so phenomenal. And David Bowie gave him his blessing to keep it up. Nice. And I just think it's truly a beautiful song sung in the space station, and it works on every level. I love it.
Wow. Cool. Well, I think I actually was inspired by Elizabeth's Jam of the Week. So I have a surprise Jam of the Week for you guys today. I'm going to recommend the TV series Schitt's Creek. If you haven't seen it, and I was also inspired by Kelly. You're tying it into your conspiracy theory because I do kind of feel like we're all living in Schitt's Creek right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
JT. So, but if you guys haven't seen that, it's a comedy. It's on or like CBC or something, but it has Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. And if you've seen Best in Show, that's that comedy duo basically. And Catherine O'Hara also played the mom in Home Alone.
Yeah, but it's a bunch of Christopher Guest people end up showing up in it.
Yeah.
The Christopher Guest, love it. Yeah.
So in the show, the son is actually Eugene Levy's actual son, but in the show his name is David, and then they have a daughter, Alexis, and basically it's this family who was super uber rich. And they found out that their accountant took all their money and never paid their taxes. And so the IRS is seizing all their assets. And the only thing that they get left with is a town that the dad had bought for the son as a joke back in the 90s called Schitt's Creek. And so they have to move there and live in this motel because they don't have any money anymore. And it is, I swear to God, I couldn't stop watching it. When I started watching it, season 4 was about to come out. And I probably binge watched the first 3 seasons in I'm going to say 2 weeks. It was so good. And they're just it's like a half-hour show. So the episodes are only 24 minutes long, when you're watching them on demand. So they go pretty quick. But if you need to laugh, especially after seeing anything to do with fake news, go watch a Schitt's Creek. You will love it. And I saw this shirt on, I got an advertisement on my Facebook feed. I was like, ew, David. And I was like, oh my God, I need that shirt. There's Schitt's Creek merchandise. So that is my jam of the week.
Fantastic.
Well, ladies, this has been awesome. Thank you, Elizabeth, for coming.
Oh, it's been so much fun
coming back, and I'm looking forward to the next year of this podcast and hoping that we just get to continue on and continue talking about fake news. And
I actually kind of hope this whole fake news thing resolves itself and we just get back to being like Dan Rather and the CBS Evening News.
Yeah, we can just talk about our jams.
Yeah.
Yes.
We just have a jam
because
podcast.
the lies have been, when you resolve all the lies, we can just have jams.
I'm going to come back in a couple of months and be like,
it's all
we
done.
don't have much to talk about.
Yeah.
What are you watching on TV?
Yeah. Right. We'd probably actually.
What have you read?
We'd probably get
Yes.
more listeners if we just did that. we like
Possibly.
yes.
We take the bullet to keep you informed.
Yes, that's right. Well, hey guys, it has been an amazing year. So thank you for listening. If you want to hear more about us besides the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at Podcast Fake News. We have our blog at podcastfakenews.com. You can email us if you have a jam that you want to come on and talk about. If you think you'd be a great guest, if you have an idea, if you want us to talk about something, send us any articles, podcastfakenews@gmail.com. And then just slide on over to our Patreon page and sign up. Jelly of the Pod, $1 a month. Jam of the Pod, $5 a month. Do whatever you got to do. That gives you some access to some extra content and makes us happy that we actually can pay the bills around here. So do it. And then don't forget to sign up, subscribe, 5 stars, please, so other people can find us. So there you go. All right, guys. Until next time, spread jam.
Not lies.